Greetings, everyone. This is Jar Citizen Gamer. Once again, with me, my ever-present bastion of common sense, Lightning Dragon. This week, we're going to be talking about ship roles. And before I get into that, I just want to remind everyone that 2.2.2 is live, allowing you to fly now every ship. They've actually gone ahead and made sure that we can fly the Cutlass. I guess that was an error. They forgot to apply the token, or the free fly token, to the Cutlass. And yeah, so finally everything's up and running there. This is a great time for you guys to get your friends, family, enemies, and doubters out there to try Star Citizen and basically see that it is actually a game and not vaporware like some people still believe. Anyway,
But I think they screwed up something, because don't fly with a mouse on this current patch, because it's awful.
well, I've never been a fan of mouse anyway. So, yeah, but don't tell them, if they complain about the flight model of the mouse, say, get a stick. Or something like that.
The mouse controls, they did something during the last patch, so there's something that's on and it's not supposed to be. So if you fly with a mouse and you're complaining about this new patch, I think they turned something on that wasn't supposed to be on.
Well, that goes along the lines because Mr. Pritchett had made a post saying that they're in the in-between stages of remodeling a portion of the flight. You see, right now, thrusters have a fixed XML value, which is actually what the ships are using. And what they're trying to do is create the system where the power or the thrust is shunted from the main engine into the thrusters themselves. And that system isn't completed yet. And because of that, he had stated in his post that basically they're in this weird in-between stage where things aren't going to be flying very correctly. So it's one of those things that we're looking at. We may be looking at another flight model revision very, very soon, which I already kind of had a feeling was coming with them measuring mass and things like that of all the ships, having that tool that's going to remap everything. And I think you're going to see some major changes. So if you're not happy with the way your ship's flying right now, you're not alone, but changes are coming. It's a major shift to go from fixed XMLs to actual using actual physics
or something.
Yeah, actual physics or physics light or whatever. So anyway, I want to talk about ship roles today. And one of the things I do want to start off with as we're talking about ship roles is that when you're backing Star Citizen, the important thing you need to consider is what you want to do, not the stats of the ship. Every ship that I have, and I have quite a few of them, is there to fill a role for a game type or something I want to do in the persistent universe. I didn't just snag the ship because it has more guns or bigger shields or whatever. I look at the ship and I say, is this going to fill a playstyle that I want to do? And that's
that passenger liner is a pretty nice looking ship, but when you break it down for what it can do as roles, it's pretty limited.
Right, that's the example. So if you want to play Wings, that old sitcom in space, hey, that's a perfect ship for you. But it's not going to be a fighter. It's not. You're gonna be pretty vulnerable if someone attacks you. But if that's what you want to do, then you can't look at stats like combat. You really say, wow, it's a passenger liner. What other ships are out there that are passenger liners? None. Kind of.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of speculation when it was first released at just how much cargo it could hold. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was before they overhauled the cargo system. So it could very well be a very good hauling ship, but it's not even like 3D modeled as far as I remember. I mean, it might be like the wire mesh, and that's probably the extent of the model. So, I mean, if you want something that looks sexy but can be converted to a cargo, I mean, there's an example. There's tons and tons and tons of cargo ships in the game, and it's kind of why we're gonna go over like the individual ships, not really on a ship basis, but like roles. Because
Right.
when I was talking about that, the last topic we were talking about like ship sizes and stuff, I kind of wanted to touch on ship roles, because I really want to talk about the Reclaimer and how it's this big, huge, massive ship, and it's going to be able to, salvage a lot of stuff, and we don't really have anything smaller that fits in this role. And I think those are things that are going to come down along the line.
Well,
but
originally,
they have,
originally the Cutlass was supposed to fill that role. Remember when the Cutlass first was in the hangar, you had a tractor beam that would sweep out of the back door when you opened it?
Right, yeah. I
That
forgot
was
about that.
that was one of the things about it.
315P, I think the 315P had a tractor beam on the
Mm-hmm.
nose as well.
Right. They were
Man,
supposed.
that's how long it's been.
I still have the tractor beam. It's an equipable item that doesn't work, but I have it. But the thing is that, yeah, when you used to open the Cutlass's rear entry door, a tractor beam would swing down. It looked like a little ball thing, like something that came out of GLaDOS from Portal, and it would swing down on a stick, and it was supposed to be a tractor beam to haul items into the rear of the ship, which kind of made the Cutlass a very small salvager to a degree, and that's not there anymore. So, that's one of those things. But let's start with everyone's favorite, fighters, because right now, let's just put this on the table. I'm gonna lay this out right now on the table. Your $60 fighter, equal pilot skill, is not going to compete with a $170 fighter. You may damage him, but he's probably going to rock your world, because you're looking at a difference between a dedicated fighter and say something like an Avenger, which is made to do some cargo and things like that. Right. So there's a difference between something that's kind of dedicated for something and something that's kind of multi-purpose. And a lot of people get very defensive about their ships when they talk about, hey, my ship's not powerful, or people complaining my M50 isn't able to beat a Hornet in combat. Well, it's a race ship. You're basically taking an F1 race car into the middle of battle and complaining that
against tanks.
Against tanks. So you're gotta have the right mindset there. Now, will we expect the Hornet to beat the M50 in a racing anytime soon? Hell no. But so when you look at roles, it's not just what your ship can do. Yes,
Speaking of
everything.
roles, let's add racing to the list, because I didn't
Racing?
have that on there.
Oh, there you go, racing. They need to divide the racing as well by ship types or something, because if you don't have a good ship, you're going to go in with like an Aurora racing against an M50, and you'll never do very well. But anyway,
you'd have like a tonnage, like
Yeah.
what the ship is and what it can, like classes, like Forza. It's an Aurora is a D class car,
and I want my Retaliator races. I want to see that.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that would just be great, those kind of things. People go and see the large truck, the semi racing on those dirt tracks.
Tractor pulls.
There you go. So the thing is that, so you've got, not only is it a matter of ships like combat ships, but when I talk about roles, I talk about how those ships work within that system. So, for example, M50, you would imagine, is a turn fighter. It would be optimal to fly a ship like that in a medium to slow speed, in the sense of like being able to turn as quickly as possible. At high speeds, it could get high speeds, absolutely, but it's turning. It's more of a turn fighter, So its real strength is that medium area. And if you're thinking of racing like F1, right? Those cars can go fast, but a lot of times they're taking those sharp turns. They need to have quick acceleration. So M50,
they also have amazing brakes.
Right, great acceleration. And so basically, then you have your boom and zooms, which are ships that basically, or planes, or whatever you want to use as reference point, that take a little while to build up the energy. They typically come in fast, they come in hard to hit with everything they've got, and they keep going. If they miss the target or they don't kill it, they just keep going. It takes a while for them to build up steam, but they're fast and they're powerful. And so their tactics are, if they slow down and get into a fight with the turn fighters, they're toast, because that's not their realm. So they have to play to their strength. And then you have those nice medium kind of in-between kind of vehicles, which are a little bit of this, a little bit of boom and zoom, a little bit of turn fighter, and they have to kind of adjust their tactics depending upon what they're facing. Right now, with the flight model the way it is, there isn't a lot of differentiation between ships other than, say, how fast they move. And because a lot of times you have to get within 150 meters to even the rotation is very high, so you have to get within 150 meters to not have a rotation where you're facing each other for the entirety of the battle. And as they change these numbers, I think you're probably going to see rotations slowed down a bit, and you're going to see maybe less focus on lateral. But that's all speculation, but with them wanting to model things to a physically correct model, they would have to change it to pitch and roll and not lateral, even with the dampeners that even Chris was talking about on 10 for the Chairman today, because that still doesn't change human physiology at all. So, Lightning, what kind of roles are you looking at?
Well, You've pretty much touched on the roles, but I wouldn't classify them as like turn fighter or boom and zoom because I would dull it down a bit. Not in the sense where like we're removing skills and making it so there's no level cap and weird things like that is more just a general term. A turn fighter, I wouldn't call it a turn fighter because that's more of an aviator's turn, you know? These are spaceships.
Right.
So
But
for
the
me,
thrusters
I would
act like
have
wings to some degree, if you think about it.
well, yeah, but hopefully we're not going to have, World War II flight sim in space. It would be a little bit more dynamic than that. But I would classify them as your light fighters. These are things that are quick and agile. Maybe they're not the fastest, but they can outmaneuver pretty much anything. Then you have your medium fighters, which are kind of those all-rounders that you were talking about.
Hmm.
They're still maneuverable. Maybe they're a little bit faster, but they've got like more weapons or they've got more armor. Then you have the heavy fighters, which would be like your twin engine things like I think P-38 is not really a heavy fighter. But if you look over the German airplanes, they had the HE-110, which was actually not a very successful airplane. And then you have things like the A-20G, which might actually be a made-up airplane, but it's very similar with the B-25 Mitchell, which was a medium bomber. And in the heavy fighter role, you can have it where either it's got lots of guns or it's got lots of armor. And it's one of those things that, maybe you have a good top speed, but you've got just crap for maneuverability. So you want to have like longer range engagements and things. And because you have either more weaponry, they can also be kind of dual purpose. So you can be like a light bomber in the case of like the Vanguard, which can carry bombs or very large missiles. And that's how I would kind of classify fighters. So the M50, it's a racing vehicle, but if you were in a fighting situation, you'd be considered a light fighter. It's small maneuverable, just like the Gladius. Then you'd have like your Saber and your Hornet would be in the medium, and as
Right.
far as heavy fighters go, you'd have like the Vanguard
I
and
think we're
the
saying the same thing.
Redeemer.
We're just
Yeah,
phrasing it different.
we're phrasing things different. The reason I would call them like light, medium, and heavy is because then it's a more of a neutral kind of thing as opposed to turn fighter, boom and zoom, which are very human terms for like World War II mostly, because we have modern day airplanes or jets,
Right.
fire missile, boom, you're done. So
Well, that's
it's
what we're
it's
trying to relate it to. The reason I'm using World War II terminology is that when Chris pitched the game, he said he imagined the game as World War II in space. So because of that, I'm trying to utilize basically terminology that relates to what the vision that he stated that he wanted the game to have. And so I figured since he wants to have World War II in space, that when he finally has the time to stop doing the directing and start sitting down and playing and doing the tweaks that he wants to do, because it's clear if anytime you watch him on the streams, he hasn't played his own game. That much is exceedingly clear. So when he sits down and plays it and goes, okay, this is what I actually want, and you're gonna see changes at that point in time, and I think you're gonna see that probably 2 to 3 months before Squadron 42. I mean, here's what Squadron 42 comes out. We're probably gonna get like the first 3 missions to play with first to test it out, or something like that. I can't see them releasing the whole thing at once. But
I don't think they
basically,
said they were going to do that either. I think they said we were going to get it a kind of slow trickle until
yeah, that's what I'm
like full
saying.
release. Yeah, I think that's what they said too.
Yeah, so but I'm saying that when that time comes out, when Chris actually sits down and has a chance to stop producing and start being a programmer again full time, or more, at least more time, he's gonna sit there and look at it and go, "This doesn't play like Wing Commander did or something." Because I get that feeling that he's just too busy. He's juggling too many balls, and I don't hold it against him because it's a hell of a thing to put together an MMO and a single player campaign simultaneously. But so there's the other thing aside from the fighters. We'll move on from that and try to keep this as brief as possible because the idea of BlastCast is not to make you sit here for all day and drink a couple cups of coffee listening to us blather on. Um, rules are important. We're talking about say we have dealing with the fact we're talking about the cutlass and the small salvaging. A long time ago, they had put out a request for basically what players wanted next for their ships, and they voted for the Reliant, where Lightning and I clearly voted for the mini mining
Mining
ship.
ship. I think Captain Tyler also voted for the mining ship.
Absolutely
He's
did.
huge into mining. He loves mining, and there was a lot of discontent when the Reliant won. I don't think it won by much either.
No, and that's the thing is we didn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the Reliant, so don't take it the wrong way.
Hey,
But we
you own
didn't.
one.
Well, no, I melted it up for something
Oh,
else.
okay.
But the thing is that I bought it. Sad as it sounds, I bought it as an LTI token. So basically, the Reliant one didn't really present anything or bring anything into the table that we didn't already have in other ships. But the idea of a starting mining ship, that was new. That brought new dynamics to the table because you got to think, when you're out there mining, you have a big ship, you're in a very dense minefield or minefield. Ooh, don't be mining in a minefield.
Asteroid
Mining
field.
asteroid field. You may want to have a couple small ships to mine some of the other rocks you can't get to, or break up the larger rocks so you can get your ship in there. These are important things to consider, and right now, so that's a role that we need to have filled. And there, you can enjoy my cough. I couldn't hold it any longer. Sorry, guys. I was just choking on that one. So the thing is that so we have the mining situation. We need a small mining ship. People keep harping on that space motorcycle spacesuit thing, but we don't need that. That might be fun down the road.
The Drake one, where it's
Yeah.
basically it's an EVA spaceship.
Yeah. And
It's an interesting idea, but I don't think it should be at the forefront of the developers. Like, we need to 3D model this.
So I don't think we need to worry about a small salvaging ship because basically, if you have a cargo hold, a welder, and ability to push stuff, into the hold, I think you've got yourself a salvage ship.
Now, if we slightly go off topic here from our role things, I haven't really seen anything now. Granted, I don't really keep up as much as I used to, but I haven't seen any, like, this is how salvaging is going to work. They did have a big thing talking about how mining was going to work and how there's different roles and different energy levels and things.
That's coming up, I think. I remember reading something that they're going to have actually some sort of breakdown on that pretty soon.
Okay, so yeah, so depending on how salvaging works, it may be as simple as strapping a tractor beam onto
Right.
one of your hard points, and then you just kind of tractor beam the equipment in. Now, on the smaller ships, you might have to like actually EVA and grabby hands it, and then
Yep.
place it in your cargo hold. But for some of the larger ships, there might be some kind of like conveyor belt that actually, tractor beams it into a place, and where the conveyor belt kind of locks on, and it takes it down to the salvage horde.
When you say it, you remind me of the first episode of Firefly, where they're down there at that big the wreckage, and they find the food, the rations inside the ship, and they EVA it up to the Firefly, and so they do it by hand, and so that's one of those things that, yeah, so I can definitely see that as being perfectly reasonable, and if you go into it hardcore, you like me, you get a reclaimer and you go from there.
I think we should have a medium-sized ship for it. Think of like the Connie size. You definitely need something that's, bigger than
Taurus
like
would be
Cutlass.
perfect for it.
A what?
Taurus would be perfect for it. Tractor beam in the lower section, and you had a huge cargo bay on the Taurus. That'd be just
yeah.
That would be just a wonderful ship for it.
If you could modify it somehow, that'd be nice.
So yeah. Anyway, so roles. So yeah, basically,
Yes.
as you can see here, we're talking about is that there is a lot of things to do in the persistent universe, and a lot of things that there's like these steps we have a lot of times. Like we have, there's going back to what we talked about earlier about the passenger liner. Okay, so we have the large passenger liner, but what about the Cessnas, so to speak? What about the small G6s, if you will, like a G6,
DC-3.
Yeah, or whatever.
There's an old World War II plane for you.
So basically, you have these steps where you have smaller passenger liners. Now, are you going to be able to just do that with your own ship, or do you going to have a special kind of,
They did mention, like, with the Phoenix, you'd have an option for ferrying people around.
That's true. You do have the hot tub, and
Yep, the hot tub, and there was extra seating and stuff.
Oh yeah. So yeah, little Barry White in there, like anti-missile system. You're good. No, so yeah, there's just a lot of things that basically in this game I feel that there's a lot of little details that need to be fleshed out because we have a lot of the end game ships, if you will. I mean, I can't imagine there being a bigger between the Orion and the Reclaimer. I can't see there being a bigger version for those.
The things are already massive.
Yeah, and I mean, so they need to flesh those out and create new ships, or they need to create parts that you can swap out their ships to fill those roles.
Yeah, the thing though, when you're designing something, usually it's really, really easy to design something overly large. In the case of space engineers, I can make a very huge multi-role ship in Space Engineers, but it's harder to condense that down. Engineering, it's not perfect until you've taken away as many parts as possible without it collapsing in on itself. So in the case of like the mining chips and the salvaging chips, they have to work out the mechanics on the large scale before they can figure out, okay, well, how can we do this in a small scale variant? And I think that's why maybe the mining ship didn't maybe prioritize. It wasn't like hyped as much. I mean,
Yeah.
they probably would have figured something out, or they might have just made it, not a starting vehicle. But for example, you like the cargo ships, right? There was tons and tons and tons of cargo ships,
Yeah.
all the way down from the Aurora, the CL or
The band
something.
all the way up to the Banyu Merchantman. There's just a
Yeah,
mass load.
or the Hull E, which is like
Yeah,
you
Hawley's
can,
probably actually Hawley's probably the king. Yeah.
yeah, it would probably can haul a the Bengal carrier in pieces, broken down as parts in its
Actually, I
cargo
remember
bay.
they actually did a breakdown of that. I mean, I think that when the Hull classes came out, they talked about how many Hawleys it would take to carry the mass of an Idris or a Bengal or something like that. It was interesting, but
Yeah.
that's an old article that they have somewhere back there, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that anymore. But it was a
But
very interesting
there's a
post.
lot of cargo ships. I mean, there's the
Yeah.
entire Hull series. A and B are planetary landers. C is kind of your middle of the road. It's kind of borderland between medium and large. And then you have the D and the E, which are just the super carriers, basically. Think of them as the space tankers, the big oil ships.
Right.
And then there's another ship that I don't think gets that much attention. It's the Caterpillar. It's the smuggling
Well,
ship.
it's not getting much attention because while it's one of the earliest ships that was you could pledge for, it's been in limbo. Now I know they got someone actually actively working on it right now. I know Calyx is actually working on it, and it has become kind of a priority to a degree because that's an old ship that we haven't even seen sitting in the hangar yet. I'm actually tempted to some degree to melt my Freelancer Max for it when it comes out because once again it's just one of those things that it's a modular ship. It has a lot of flexibility. I don't know, but yeah, but we got enough cargo ships clearly in this game. I mean, you're
Yeah, that's the thing is we don't need any
pirates.
more cargo ships.
Pirates are going to be absolutely at the buffet of pirateness because everywhere they're going to look, there's going to be some sort of cargo ship. So they're fine there. I mean, so
And that's not even kind of the multi-role ships
no,
like
yeah,
the Freelancer and the Connie, which are multi-role. I mean, they can haul cargo and they can do combat. They have relatively comparable or comparable armament. I mean, the
yeah.
just the two guns on the side of the
So
Freelancer are pretty nasty.
the bottom line is that when you're getting ships in this game, don't ever buy it because of the stats. We've seen the stats of every single ship change since launch, since the launch of
Since the website was available to look
right.
at.
So just get the ship that suits you best, fills the role that you want to do. Don't worry about if it does well in Arena Commander and all that stuff. It doesn't matter because Arena Commander is a little 8x8 box. It's not indicative of the complete and total universe. It doesn't have. It's like throwing two cats into a bag and letting them rip. And it doesn't. It has, which is something as a child on the farm you tend to do. So,
Cruel person.
I was a different kind of kid. No, anyway, so no, anyway, so the thing is that
We don't promote animal abuse here on the Citizen
no,
Gamer
no,
channel.
no, no, we don't promote animal abuse or childhood stupidity. So the thing is that so yeah, that's why you don't worry about how it does there, and just get out in the persistent universes. If your goal in the game isn't just to rack up kills and to be on leaderboards, just get out there and get the ship you want to fly. Get out there and just get good with it because that's your baby. I mean that's you get a ship because you think it defines who you want to be and what you want to
Retaliator
do.
for life.
Exactly. Especially as he flies and takes off my wings. But anyway, he rammed me.
Arena Commander, best ship.
Oh yeah,
10 would bomb again.
would ram again. All right, guys. Well, this is Jar Citizen Gamer and Lightning Dragon. We're probably gonna cut this one here because it's probably getting kind of long and it's supposed to be a
And we still haven't even
BlastCast.
touched on AWACS or spying ships.
I know
or
we'll have to.
info
We're gonna have to
runners,
add that to the next one
repair ships.
because my
I mean,
render program will not take this crap. It'll crash out. I'll have to sit there all night and try to render this thing 5 or 6 times. So anyway, guys, Thanks for listening, and we'll catch y'all next week. Say bye, Lightning.
Bye, Lightning.
You gotta come up with a new one. Bye.
Sorry.